For most people, losing half their savings in a divorce is painful. For me, it was apparently a comedy show. The divorce papers had barely dried before my ex-wife started telling anyone who would listen that I had the business instincts of a confused squirrel. According to her, every bad decision made in our marriage had somehow been my fault. The broken dishwasher? Me. The failed vacation? Me. The time her expensive designer dog ate an entire birthday cake? Somehow also me. The worst part wasn't even the divorce. It was my family. They treated the whole thing like a sporting event. Every Sunday dinner turned into a roast session with me as the guest of honor. My older brother, who sold insurance and never stopped talking about it, loved reminding everyone that he owned 2 houses. Meanwhile, he said one evening, pointing his fork at me, "Our boy here is probably one missed paycheck away from living in a cardboard box." The table exploded with laughter. My mother nearly spilled her wine. Even my aunt, who believed email was a government conspiracy, managed to laugh. I smiled politely while silently wondering if it was legal to fake my own disappearance. Then came the moment that made everyone certain I had completely lost my mind. I bought a gas station. The room became quiet. For exactly 3 seconds. Then the laughter started again. Not normal laughter. The kind of laughter people make when they think they've witnessed history's dumbest decision. My brother slapped the table. "A gas station?" "An old one," I admitted. That somehow made it worse. My ex-wife nearly choked on her drink. "Oh, this is amazing," she said. "You spent everything you had left on a gas station? It has potential." That sentence earned another round of laughter. My mother shook her head. "Honey, are you having a midlife crisis?" "No." My brother grinned. "Good news. When the business fails, you'll already have a place to live." "What?" "The restroom." The table erupted again. Even I had to admit that one was kinda funny. My ex-wife wiped tears from her eyes. "Congratulations. Most people become entrepreneurs. You became king of broken toilets." I looked around the room. Nobody believed in me. Not one person. To be fair, the station wasn't exactly impressive. The roof leaked. Half the signs didn't work. The coffee machine looked old enough to remember disco. One gas pump only functioned if you kicked it twice and threatened it verbally. But there was something nobody else saw. Location. Thousands of truckers passed that highway every day. The station sat directly on one of the busiest routes in the region. People needed fuel. People needed food. People needed a place to stop. I couldn't explain it. I just felt there was opportunity there. Unfortunately, my family treated intuition the same way they treated my investment. Like a disease. The following week, I packed everything I owned into a pickup truck. The move took less than an hour, which was slightly depressing. My new home was a tiny room behind the gas station. The mattress squeaked. The air conditioner sounded like it was losing a fight. And something suspicious lived inside one of the walls. I named it Larry. If I was going to be poor, I might as well have roommates. That first night, after cleaning shelves, repairing lights, and arguing with a vending machine that refused to accept reality, I sat outside beneath the flickering station sign. Cars rushed past on the highway. The station looked small. Lonely. Almost hopeless. I thought about my ex-wife. I thought about my family. I thought about every joke they made. For a moment, I wondered if they were right. Maybe I really had wasted everything. Maybe I was exactly what they thought I was. A hopeless failure. Then a tired truck driver pulled into the parking lot. He walked inside, bought coffee and a sandwich, and smiled. "Glad this place is still open," he said. It wasn't much. But it was my first customer. And for the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt since before the divorce. Hope. The first few months were a beautiful disaster. Every morning I woke up before sunrise, grabbed a wrench, a mop, and whatever optimism I could find, then spent the day trying to convince people my gas station wasn't one strong wind away from becoming a historical landmark. Money was tight. So tight that I once spent 20 minutes deciding whether I could afford extra ketchup packets. The answer was no. The station needed customers, and customers needed reasons to stop. Fuel alone wasn't enough. So I started getting creative. Possibly too creative. My first idea was a giant roadside sign. Last decent coffee for 100 miles. Truckers stopped just to argue about whether the claim was true. Most of them bought coffee while arguing. I considered that a victory. Then I introduced the Trucker Challenge burger. 5 beef patties. 6 slices of cheese. Enough bacon to concern medical professionals. Anyone who finished it in under 15 minutes got their picture on the wall. The first customer tried. He lasted 6 minutes. The second lasted 8. The third asked if the burger came with life insurance. Soon people were stopping specifically to attempt the challenge. Most failed spectacularly. One man fell asleep halfway through. Another requested emotional support. Videos started appearing online. People laughed at the challenge, but they also visited. The station slowly became known as the funniest stop on the highway. I wasn't finished. Friday nights became comedy nights. I placed a small stage near the dining area and invited truckers to tell stories. The results were incredible. Truck drivers apparently possessed enough crazy stories to fill entire television networks. One guy claimed he accidentally delivered 300 garden gnomes to a military base. Another spent 20 minutes describing a battle with an angry goose. Customers laughed so hard they cried. For the first time, the station felt alive. Then she appeared. It happened on a rainy evening when business was unusually slow. A sleek silver vehicle rolled into the parking lot. The door opened. And out stepped the most unusual woman I'd ever seen. She was beautiful, elegant, and strangely fascinated by everything around her. She spent 10 minutes staring at a hot dog roller. I wasn't sure whether to be flattered or concerned. When she finally entered the store, she examined every shelf as though she were studying artifacts from a lost civilization. "You sell 37 varieties of potato chips," she said. "Actually, 38. Barbecue sold out." She nodded seriously. "Human culture is extraordinary." That should have been my first clue. The second clue came when she accidentally paid for coffee using a coin that appeared to glow. The third clue arrived when she casually admitted she wasn't from Earth. Surprisingly, that wasn't even the weirdest thing that happened that month. She explained she was part of a species that traveled between worlds studying civilizations. Humanity fascinated her. Especially humor. Apparently, no species in the galaxy understood why humans laughed at people falling off lawn chairs. To be fair, either did I. Yet it was funny. She began visiting regularly. At first she asked questions. Lots of questions. Why did truckers insult each other as a sign of friendship? Why did customers willingly attempt impossible food challenges? Why did humans place giant inflatable dinosaurs beside highways? I answered as best I could. Usually with, "Honestly, I have no idea." The more she visited, the more we talked. The more we talked, the more I looked forward to seeing her. She believed in every crazy idea I had. When I mentioned wanting better customer experiences, she offered suggestions based on technology so advanced it felt like magic. Nothing dangerous. Just fun improvements. Interactive displays. Entertainment systems. Creative attractions. Customers loved them. Business grew faster. Meanwhile, our conversations became longer. Our laughter became easier. And for the first time since my divorce, I found myself smiling for reasons that had nothing to do with business. One evening she looked around the crowded station. Truckers laughing. Customers taking photos. Employees rushing between tables. The parking lot completely full. "You built all this yourself?" she said. I shook my head. "Not all of it." She smiled. "Most of it." For a moment, I remembered every joke my family had made. Every insult. Every prediction of failure. Standing there beside her, listening to customers laugh inside the station, those voices felt much smaller than they once had. Outside, more vehicles were pulling into the lot. Inside, every table was occupied. And for the first time, I realized something incredible was happening. My ridiculous little gas station was becoming the place everyone wanted to visit. What happened next was something nobody, including me, could have predicted. The videos kept spreading. At first, it was just truckers posting clips of failed burger challenges and comedy nights. Then travel bloggers discovered the station. Then food reviewers. Then social media influencers who seemed professionally obligated to photograph every meal before eating it. Within a year, the station wasn't just popular. It was famous. People drove hundreds of miles just to visit. The parking lot that once sat empty was now packed from sunrise to midnight. The Trucker Challenge burger had become legendary. Customers traveled across state lines to test their stomachs against it. Some succeeded. Most failed. One contestant made it through 4 patties before announcing that he could hear colors. The video received millions of views. I framed a screenshot and hung it on the wall. The station kept expanding. The old building received a complete makeover. The leaking roof disappeared. The broken pumps were replaced. The tiny roadside stop transformed into a destination. The biggest surprise came from my favorite alien visitor. She never cared about the money. Never cared about the attention. She only cared about seeing people happy. One afternoon, she introduced a new entertainment system based on harmless holographic technology from her world. The result was absolute chaos. Customers could interact with funny holographic characters that told jokes, challenged them to games, and occasionally roasted them. Truckers loved it. Children loved it. Adults loved it even more. One holographic cowboy became famous for insulting customers in the most polite way possible. People stood in line just to get roasted. Business exploded. Soon merchandise appeared. T-shirts. Coffee mugs. Burger challenge trophies. Even toy versions of the holographic cowboy. Money flowed in faster than I could process. For years I'd worried about paying utility bills. Now accountants were asking whether I wanted to purchase additional properties. The answer turned out to be yes. Several of them. New roadside locations opened. Then more. The little gas station was becoming a genuine business empire. Meanwhile, something even more important was happening. The woman who had first walked into my station and stared at a hot dog roller like it was a sacred artifact had become the center of my life. We spent nearly every day together. She made me laugh. She challenged me. She listened. After the divorce, I had convinced myself that trusting someone again would be impossible. Yet somehow she made it feel natural. Easy. For the first time in years, the future looked exciting instead of frightening. Unfortunately, success also attracted something else. My family. The same people who had laughed the hardest suddenly became my biggest supporters. At least according to them. My brother called one afternoon. "I always knew you'd make it." I nearly dropped the phone. "You literally predicted I'd live in a gas station restroom." That was motivational criticism. Motivational criticism? Very advanced technique. I hung up laughing. A week later my mother visited. She spent the entire afternoon proudly telling customers stories about my childhood. Listening to her, you'd think she had personally built the station herself. The transformation was remarkable. Failure had embarrassed the family. Success apparently made me their favorite relative. Then came the biggest surprise of all. My ex-wife started showing up. At first she claimed she was just passing through. Then she began appearing with suspicious frequency. She complimented the business. Complimented the renovations. Complimented me. It was strange hearing encouragement from someone who once called my investment a monument to bad decisions. The irony wasn't lost on me. One evening, while the station buzzed with customers, my phone rang. A television producer was calling. I assumed it was a prank. After all, strange things happened around the station. Last month a customer had attempted to pay for gas with collectible baseball cards. Anything was possible. But this call was real. A major food and travel network wanted to feature the station on a nationally televised program. Apparently viewers across the country had been requesting it. The producer called it one of the most unique roadside destinations in America. After the conversation ended, I sat silently for several moments. Years earlier I had stood in an empty parking lot wondering whether my family had been right. Wondering if I truly was a hopeless failure. Now a national television crew wanted to tell my story. I looked across the dining area. Customers laughed around crowded tables. Employees rushed between orders. And the woman who had believed in me from the beginning smiled from across the room. For the first time, I understood that success wasn't about proving people wrong. It was about refusing to quit long enough to prove yourself right. And somehow, the craziest chapter of my life was only just beginning. The television episode aired on a Friday night. I had expected a little attention. Maybe a small increase in customers. Maybe a few curious travelers. What actually happened looked more like a national emergency involving hamburgers. By sunrise the next morning, vehicles stretched down the highway. The parking lot was overflowing. People were taking pictures beside the station sign. Others were carrying merchandise bags. One family claimed they had driven 9 hours just to try the famous burger challenge. A customer from another state hugged me before ordering breakfast. I still have no idea why. The show had officially named the station America's Best Roadside Stop. Overnight, the place transformed from a successful business into a national landmark. News articles appeared everywhere. Travel guides recommended it. Tour buses started scheduling visits. At one point, I walked outside and found a group of tourists taking photos of a gas pump. A gas pump. Human beings are fascinating creatures. Naturally, my family suddenly became very interested in my life. The same relatives who once laughed at me gathered together to watch reruns of the television episode. My brother called 3 times in one day. His 4th call finally got through. "So," he said casually, "have you considered investors?" "Investors?" "Family investors." I laughed so hard I nearly dropped the phone. My mother wasn't much better. She now told everyone she had always supported my dream. This was particularly impressive because I still possessed several text messages proving otherwise. One of them literally said, "Please don't buy that gas station." When I reminded her, she claimed she had been using reverse psychology. Apparently everyone in my family had become a marketing genius after I succeeded. Then came the most unexpected visitor. My ex-wife. She arrived wearing her brightest smile and enough confidence for both of us. The moment she walked inside, several employees exchanged nervous looks. Everyone knew the history. She sat across from me and started talking as though the previous years had never happened. She complimented the station. Complimented the business. Complimented my determination. Then she complimented my appearance. That was when I became truly suspicious. After 20 minutes she finally reached her destination. "I think we made mistakes," she said. "We?" "Both of us." Interesting. When things went wrong, it had always been my mistakes. Now that things were successful, suddenly they belonged to both of us. Funny how that works. She spoke about second chances. About reconnecting. About starting over. I listened politely. Then I smiled. "Back when everyone called me a hopeless failure, there was only one person who believed in me." Her smile faded. Because she knew exactly who I meant. The woman standing near the counter, laughing with customers. The one who had supported me before the success. Before the money. Before the television cameras. My ex-wife eventually left. Not angrily. Just quietly. And honestly, I wished her well. Some chapters are meant to end. A few weeks later we organized a huge celebration at the station. Customers filled every table. Truckers packed the parking lot. Employees worked nonstop. Music played. Laughter echoed everywhere. I stood on the small stage where comedy nights had first started years ago. Looking across, the crowd felt surreal. The station. The business. The life. Everything had begun with a decision everyone called stupid. Then I asked the woman I loved to join me. She walked onto the stage looking confused. Which was adorable. I thanked her for believing in me when nobody else did. I thanked her for standing beside me when the station was falling apart. I thanked her for proving that real love appears during hard times, not easy ones. Then I got down on one knee. The entire station became silent. For approximately 2 seconds. At that exact moment, someone accidentally triggered the celebration confetti cannon. Thousands of pieces of confetti exploded into the air. Customers screamed. Truckers cheered. A burger challenge contestant became so startled he dropped half a milkshake onto his own lap. Absolute chaos. Perfect chaos. Through all of it, she laughed. Then she said yes. The crowd erupted. Strangers hugged each other. Someone started singing badly. Several truckers argued over who had cried first. It was the happiest disaster I'd ever witnessed. As the celebration continued, I looked around one final time. Years ago, my family saw a failing gas station. I saw possibility. They saw a hopeless failure. I saw one last chance. The difference changed everything. Success hadn't come from luck. It came from refusing to quit. From working when nobody believed. From laughing when life became ridiculous. And from recognizing the difference between people who love your success and people who love you. Standing there beside the woman who had chosen me long before the world did, I realized I already had everything I needed. The thriving business was wonderful. The recognition was nice. But the greatest victory wasn't becoming successful. It was proving that sometimes the craziest dream in the room is the one worth chasing. And somewhere in the crowd, a trucker accidentally launched another confetti cannon. Because apparently that's just how happy endings work at my gas station.